So let's select the Pottery Pail tag. So the first question it's going to ask you is there any pottery? Okay. Now, most people, most square supervisors, what they will do is they will fill out physical pottery pail tags, and they'll probably fill in information for about 5 pottery pails. Some people even put in 10, and they carry them around with them. It is not recommended that you do more than you think that you will use in a single day, because there is fear that you may not use more than 1 or 2 pottery pails, and then you have these walking around in your pocket, and then you go and you lose them, and that would be really bad. So we don't want that to happen. You will check with your field supervisor to determine what is the best strategy, but right now I'm going to show you what the buttons are for and how to fill them out. So if we're going to do a pottery pail tag, we're going to do our very first pottery pail tag because we didn't get any pottery whatsoever in our cleanup locus. We're going to add one here. And notice the first thing it did is it added the season. We're going to now put in our date. We're going to insert today's date, current date, there it is. And then it's going to say, what is the pottery pail number? We are going to start with pottery pail number 1. So this is our first pottery pail. And we haven't done any information yet. We haven't added anything here. That is, we don't know how many diags, we don't know how many totals, we don't know how many baskets, we don't have any pubs, etc. So we may leave this for now. Usually you want to don't fill out the digital pottery pail tag until after you have completed the paper pottery pail tag that's going to be actually attached to the pottery pail. And you fill out this information when you set up your pottery for your pottery reading. This should look exactly like the physical pottery pail tag when it's finished. And we'll show you how you register this information and so on. So let's just for a moment think that we have gone to the pottery table, we've taken our pottery, we've laid it out on the pottery table so that the ceramicist can look over it, and now we're doing our count. And what we're going to do is we didn't find much, but we're going to do some information here. But we did find that of all of the information, we found that there was 1 diagnostic sherd out of a total of 2 sherds found. Okay, maybe that's not enough. Let's say we found out of 12 sherds found. So we found 12 total sherds, and we found 1 diagnostic. And what we did was we went through, that is GUFAs or baskets or whatever method you use, we went through 24 baskets. Found 1 diagnostic sherd, 12 sherds. Now, the ceramicist is going to tell you whether or not that 1 diagnostic sherd is publishable. In this case, we're going to say yes, it was publishable because it had some really pretty paint on it. So we're going to keep that and call it publishable. Normally, if it's your very first locus and your very first square, probably nothing in that group is going to be publishable. Now, where did it come from? Did it come from the locus? Did this come from the sift? Or did it come from somewhere else? When it means coming from the locus, that means that it was hand-picked. You saw it, oh, there's a sherd, I pick it up, put it in the pail. Okay? Or you could have taken the entire GUFA or basket or whatever it is you put your soil in, taken it to the sift, sifted it out, and you found those 12 sherds there. So in this case, we're going to say they all came from the sift. As far as what the condition is, that is sort of a specialty thing that you need to check with your dig manual and your field supervisor to determine whether or not they are fragile, whether there's a possible contamination, whether it's mendable, etc. So now that we have put that information in, we are set up for the pottery pail table to do a pottery read. Okay, I'm going to select the update button before we get started, and now I'm going to turn to the pottery card. If we select the pottery card, what you're going to see is a card for recording information. Here is the information that we can see, and notice that it is divided by periods. So we have early bronze, middle bronze, late bronze, iron, Persian, Greco-Roman, Byzantine, and Islamic. So This can be customized depending on your site. So you notice that when we first came up, it came up with Iron Age, because at Safra we do not have it. Basically, we don't usually have Islamic ware there. We have a little bit of Byzantine, maybe some late Roman, but mostly we're going to show up with iron material. If you're a Tel Haspan, then you're going to come up with mostly Islamic, so the Islamic button is going to show up first. But since we're working with Safra, now we're going to look at what types of pottery that were found. The pottery is all laid out. There are 12 sherds and 1 diagnostic, and the pottery ceramicist is going to come up and say, okay, you have early iron 1, and we're going to say this is a jar, 1 jar. Is there any wear? Is it a bichrome, red burnish? No, none of the above. So notice that when I select the early iron 1, it immediately filled the early iron 1 into the period section. And then I selected 1, and then it immediately added 1. When I touched jar button, it added the jar button. And if I were to add, say, black burnish ware, which is unlikely, but I suppose it's possible for the iron 1 period, no, it's not possible. Anyway, you'll notice that I selected the ware button and it added the ware. Now I can also add comments. So in this case, and I'm going to go back and delete this out because there's no black burnish ware in iron 1. But we do get painted ware. So I'm going to say painted, this is my comment, painted 2 lines, or 2 painted line, whichever way you want to word it. Tap outside. So I have early iron 1 jar with 2 painted lines. So right now you're not done. You must hit that plus button. If you don't hit the plus button, then the information will not register. It's as if it had never been spoken. But since we have that 1 jar, we're going to select 1 jar, and it comes back to where we were. And what else do we have? Early iron 1. I have 12. And what else do I have? I have 12 bods. Okay, so let's see, 12 body sherds. Okay, and there's no paint on the other, well, I guess there were, I said 2, but I don't want to, so I'm going to go back, tap on it, backspace. I'm going to put in the number 12. So 12 body sherds. Well, no. Let's make it 11 because we counted our diagnostic. Tap outside. Notice I have everything is ready, and now I just press the plus button. It does its little flash to remind you that it's thinking. And now that I've completed that Pottery Pail tag is done, I can now want to do not hit the home button, hit the X button out, and notice what has happened. Now your Pottery Pail tag has filled itself in. It is written out for you. Early iron age 1 jar, 2 painted lines, and 11 body sherds. Okay, that means that there are 11 body sherds which are early iron age 1. The colon tells you that everything behind the colon is going to be from the early iron 1 period. Now let's suppose that there were more than that. So we have not 12, but let's say we had 14. Say that we had 14, which means that this here is 12 sherds, but I need 2 more sherds. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to add and said, oh, but one of these was just an early iron 2. So I had 2 early iron 2 body sherds, like so. Then I hit the plus sign. I am now done. I hit that X in the upper left-hand corner, and notice it is now written into early iron 2 body sherds. Now, if you have a physical copy, if the pottery registrar has not written this information in on the physical copy, you can now use your iPad to go back and fill this information into the physical copy. Or if your pottery registrar writes all of this information on the card and say that this ceramic work is being done and you are not present, you can always come back to that card, take a picture with your iPad, and then once you've taken a picture with your iPad, you can write this information here, or you can go in and run the pottery card. Do not type information in here you must add that information through the pottery card. If you're going to add anything, you must use the pottery card. Okay, now we haven't finished yet, because what we need is a photograph. We need a photograph of the pottery. So we're going to click Add Pottery Photo. It's going to take us to our photograph page, and it's going to show us two boxes. One is the diagnostic shirts, and one is all of the shirts together. Now, since I'm making up this data, the pictures that I'm going to add are not going to be the real ones, so bear with me when it comes to that. But as you'll notice, there are two buttons at the top. These are legacy buttons. If you have been using this locus or this square for some time, you see that there are buttons up here which allows you to look at pictures of the pottery tables that were taken in the past. If it's a new square, like the one that we are working on with a new locus, then those will be blank. Don't try to add anything to these buttons. Don't add anything to these boxes here. Okay, now it's time for us to add our pictures. We select our pail, and now we want to add our picture. And how do we add our picture? We can tap and go to our photos. And with our photos, we're going to go to all photos. We're going to scroll through until I can find some pottery. There we go. Here are some. Now again, like I said, this is not the same pottery information here. I'm just going to select something so that you can see what it looks like. And there it is. This is beautiful pottery from Hespan. This is Islamic ware. So I'm going to select that, and now that is the diagnostic sherds. And then I'm going to go out here. I'm going to hit the photo button. I'm going to go and look for all. I'm going to see if I can find a picture which has a big pile of pictures. Here we go. Here's a very good list. Look at that. And there is a pottery table. So you have two groups of pictures. You have pictures which are diagnostics. That's a close-up of the diagnostics. But whenever you take a picture, and that picture is of the pottery table, make sure that the diagnostics has the Pottery Pail tag clearly visible in the photograph. The one that you see here does not. So I'm going to tap on it, and I'm going to replace that photo because it doesn't have a nice clean picture of the Pottery Pail tag. So I'm going to scroll until I find the one that has the Pottery Pail tag, and it's clearly visible. Let's see, here's a nice Pottery Pail tag. There we go. So now there's that one sherd that we were talking about, that one diagnostic sherd, and it has it nice and visible. When I tap on it, even though I'm sure this is from Tel Hespan and not from Safra, you can see that I can see all of the information clearly on the photograph. The reason is because you want to make sure that the photograph that you have goes with the Pottery Pail tag that you are filling out. Okay, so having done that, we now have a close-up of the diagnostic sherd or sherds, and then here's the same picture. If I view that, you can see the diagnostic there in the lower end, and then the rest of the sherds which are above it, showing all of the sherds that were in that pottery pail. Okay, now that we see this, we want to hit the update button. I've now updated all this information, so it's gone over to the photograph database, and it's included the diagnostic information, the totals, the baskets, all the photographs, and all that information is now here. So that is your Pottery Pail tag and how to insert pictures. We select the return button, and it'll take us back to our main page, and then we select the Pottery Pail to see the Pottery Pail that we are working on. So that's how you fill out a Pottery Pail tag. Remember that this information is done at the Pottery Pail table, or at the pottery table, when the ceramicist is about to do a reading. Usually we set this up in advance on the table, and then we go through, we take pictures with the iPad of the pottery table, of all of the sherds, and then a close-up of the tag with the diagnostic sherds, and we can come back and then add all that information. You will come up with probably the best method that works for you, so find something that works, or ask those who are around you who might be working with you who may have already created a system. You will also notice that there in the lower right hand corner are legacy buttons as well, so that you can see things from older squares or older loci. As you start to add more loci, sometimes you need to go back and look at old pictures. These are pictures that were done before the most recent update of the database. You'll also notice that there are buttons inside the white bar at the bottom. That white bar at the bottom is a no, don't touch me button. It is asking you to add a new record. It's going to say, do you want to add a new record? No, you do not. Do you want to duplicate? Don't do it that. Don't touch that. Don't mess with it. The one down there says, do you want to delete? If you hit that delete record, it will erase everything that's connected with this locus. So please keep your fingers off of there. I can't change that. It's built in, and I wish there was something that I could do. So that is the Pottery Pail tag. So we've done the information, the locus information. We did our supervisor, and it said, do you want to, we were working on a strategy. It says, do you want to do a Pottery Pail tag? We said yes, and that has taken us to the Pottery Pail tag, where he's filled out or started to fill out that information for the Pottery Pail tag. Then, after we have washed our pottery, the pottery has dried, we've taken it to the table, we've laid it all out, then we can make sure that the information that's on the physical Pottery Pail tag matches the digital Pottery Pail tag. So now let's take a look at this little button we have over here with a little camera. This camera is for where you can also add photographs, but you can also see the photographs individually. So let's take a look at that. So now once you have selected the Pottery Pail Photos button that was part of the Pottery Pail tag, you're going to be directed to this page, and here you can see a number of pottery pails that are already here. The pottery pail has already been included, and so what you'll be able to do then is select the pottery pail that you want to add photos to. You'll notice that the pottery pail date, the season, and the pottery pail number have already been put in, or at least you should have put them in by now. The diagnostics, totals, baskets, and pubs should also be here, but that may change as you may not have filled this in yet, and you're starting to first put in your photographs, and that's okay. You can always come back and put this information in here. If you put it on the Pottery Pail tag that's associated with the earth locus or the architecture locus or the installation or the cleanup, it will show up here. And then also the reading, you'll see the reading right there. That box which fills out, what the preliminary reading was by the ceramicist. It will fill itself in once you learn how to do that. And you'll see that here. If it's blank at this point, that's okay. It's probably because you haven't done this yet. Now, there are other buttons too. You can have what are known as legacy buttons. These legacy buttons are so that you can see maybe there are pottery tables or something that was done in the past, and because this is a square that's been around a while, and loci which were done in one of the earlier versions didn't have this connection, and so you have two of them here. These are here's a good example where I have a pottery diagnostic photos and pottery the table photos, and you can see that these are legacy. It says do not attempt to add any photos here. This is just for reference. They should have all been exported and added to the FileMaker database, the new one. But if you ever find there's a discrepancy, then please contact your field supervisor or your tech support person, and if necessary, then I will personally make sure that your photos are transferred over. We're still in the process of making all that work. Now, there are a couple of ways to insert a picture. On the iPad, the best option if you're going to insert a picture is to simply tap the box. That's the best way to do this. You can, and this is generally meant for those who are working with this on a computer, but you can hit the insert button and then you can add a picture. Hitting the insert button will allow you to go and search for the photographs depending on where you have them. But like I said, this is not the recommended method. The best thing is to say there are diagnostic photos. I need to add a diagnostic photo. How do I do that? I tap on the diagnostic photo box. I look for the photos where the menu is, and now I look for all. Now, it may be in recent or wherever you have it. We're going to scroll down until I find the picture which is related to this particular table. And as always, whenever you are going to take pictures of your pottery table and its diagnostics, notice that you want to include the Pottery Pail tag in the photograph. So here are the diagnostics that have been added, and clearly there's a Pottery Pail tag. Now admittedly it's not the exact same one because this is a demonstration, and you want to make sure that you have the Pottery Pail tag for Pottery Pail number 21, not whatever one that I have there, which looks like could be, I can't even read it from here. But if you want to see what it is, let's hit the zoom, and you can see this is from B12 6 Diagnostics. See is 2018, and the Pottery Pail there is Pottery Pail 24. Now that doesn't belong here. This is Pottery Pail 21, but this is again a demonstration. Make sure that you have the right Pottery Pail photograph in the Pottery Pail tag. So for all sherds, again, just select that box again, find the import menu for photos, hit the photos, and we're going to just put in a demonstration photo in here. We're going to scroll down until I see a picture of all the pottery from that one table. We're going to select that pottery, and now you can see that it has showed up. Now when I go to, I can add more pictures too. So if I have additional Pottery Pail table photos, I can just hit that the arrow button. That's what the arrow button is for. I just hit the photos button again, and I can add another photo which is from the Pottery Pail. Maybe it's a slightly different angle, maybe the color, the lighting is better. You know, there are a number of reasons why you take more than one photo. And feel free to do that, so I can just add as many photos as I need to. To click outside the box, I click the arrow, and you can see that I have more than one photo in there. Sometimes you want to take individual diagnostic photos. Preferably you want to take a group of your diagnostics, and if you have to have some special ones you want to add to the diagnostic sherds, then you certainly at that time can add those. So this is how you get your photos into the, here's another example, 36. It doesn't have any pictures in it. We're going to add it. Let's try it again. We're going to hit the photos button. We're going to hit all photos. I'm going to come here until I can find some diagnostics, and again you're going to pick the correct diagnostics, but I'm just going to use a sample one. So here's a sample photo of the diagnostics. And then, like I said, if you're not sure if you got it right because it's a little bit small, hit the view button. That makes it nice and big, and you can see that this is supposed to be Pail 23. And we're going to now select all diagnostics again, use the same method. Hit the photos button, select the all photos, scroll down, and then when you find the sherds that you're looking for, and there you go. Now, another way to do this is that I could simply just take a picture. That means I could hit that camera button there. It's going to ask me, do you want to access the camera? Yes, I can. See, you're looking through the camera, but we don't want to do that, because what will happen is I can take a picture with that camera app right there, but what it's going to do is it's not going to store it on the iPad. That means I will have a copy in the database, but it won't be actually stored on the iPad. And we want to make sure that it is stored on the iPad because we need to have a backup. So we're going to go back. Now you'll notice that in the upper right hand corner there is an update button. Select that, click that update button, and this will take all of this information and will carry it over to the photographs database. So again, we're just going to simply touch the photos, find all photos, scroll until we have and find something that is representative. So here's a diagnostic sherds, and then notice it has the Pottery Pail in, and I just want to look at this one a little bit closer. Make sure that when you do the pottery tag that the vital information is there. You need the site, the square, the field, the pail number, the date, all of that. This one is a little bit off-centered, so probably not the best photo. So make sure, that's another reason why people may have more than one photo, because you may need it for that purpose. So let's again scroll down until we find a photograph group which shows all photos. We're going to put all photos in there, and again we're going to select this one. We're going to look at it a little bit closer, and now you can see how nicely and neatly you can see all of the information is showing, although Paul has sort of covered his name, but you can still see the site, the season, and all the vital information that is necessary. So that's how you add. Oh, and don't forget, there's that update button. I'm going to click that update button so that the update shows me everything that I need. So this is how you add photos to your when you're having a Pottery Pail photos. And to get back, you just click the return button, and it'll take you right back to where you left off. You just have to select the pottery pail, and now we can see the pottery pail, the pails, and we can go through them and find the detailed information for each of those.